Hi friends, it's Becky, and I'd like to make a little necklace using some of the beads that came in the May 2025 Sam's Bead Box. This was the Spa Day Sam's Bead Box, and I wanted to absolutely use this gorgeous crystal pendant and make myself a little necklace design. We're going to be stringing it on some wire after I use some craft wire to make the pendant, and I wanted to use these diamond-shaped drop beads, these little teeny tiny drooks that are the same color, and then some of these dark purple long fire polish beads that also came in the box. These 15 seed beads, this was a bead mix that was a add-on design element. I love the seed beads that Rachel puts together, so that's always one of those things that I snap right up out of the shop after the box goes live. But yeah, so I'm going to be using that. It's going to be filling in some of the spaces in here and getting that a little bit longer with that. I'm adding a lobster clasp for a closure. I'll be stringing it on some copper colored wire. I've got some 2x2 crimp tubes, which work great with my favorite method of crimping. It is the magical crimper, so I'm going to be using that tool. I've got some chain nose pliers for opening and closing things, and you know, just generally doing bendy things with my wires. I am going to be using some bail making pliers, oddly enough, for making a bail. Weird, right? And then I've got some flush cutters for cutting my wire. For the wire that I'm using for my bail, I am just using some 22 gauge antique copper colored wire. This is just some regular dead soft craft wire, and if I need to add any length to this, I've got some antique copper colored curb chain that I can use to make this a little bit longer as part of the closure. So I'm going to be adding those if and when I need them, but for now let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, I've already kind of laid it out in a design, but before we do the actual design, let's go ahead and make our bail. So I've gone ahead and cut about a 6-inch piece of that 22 gauge craft wire. Okay, so just checking out which loop I want to use. I don't want it to be too big of a loop, and it just needs to be able to fit around and over the top of this point a little bit, but not be too big. And it can be manipulated into more of an oval shape in order to make it fit better. So I think this barrel right here, this is my 4th step up. That's this one right here. Is going to work best for me. Let's just get calipers out to double check which size that is. That's the 5mm. That's 5.2. There you go. Close enough. That's the 5mm loop here. And I'm just going to take my wire and bend it in a U shape so I can find the center. And then put that center right there on my loop. Get my wires to cross over there. Grab my chain nose pliers. I'm going to bend the wire away from my loop, right where they meet, so that the wires are parallel coming out from there. There we go. And I did double check to make sure that 2 of the 22 gauge wire would pass through and fit in the hole of this pendant before I start. And you see there's like some movement still, so it's not like it's a tight fit or anything like that. I'm going to move that through there and then just kind of bend this with my thumb gently back towards here, because I want to fit this end through this loop here. I'm just going to press this loop up so that we can get that back through there. Slowly, gently press that forward. Get this loop over the top. There we go. And I'm just going to press on the sides here of my loop to make it a little more oval. All right. There we go. So it's a very simple bail. And if I had beads with a larger hole, I could put one right here before I make my loop. But I think most of these, the hole is not large enough for 2 of these to pass through. For these ones, let me see actually if these 11-Os would work for that. Because I was going to use just the 15-Os, but these are some 8-Os and they've got some larger holes. So I'm just going to double check and see if I can fit one of these on here. And if it doesn't fit, I'm totally okay with it. Okay, and it doesn't, so that's fine. Because I can just make my loop right here. So I'm going to grab my bail making pliers, and I need to have a little loop here in order to have this string on here. So I'm just going to bend using the pliers back away from me, like that. And then use my fingers for both of these to come up and around towards the front. And then swing my pliers around so that the wires can go all the way around like that. Actually, I think that's going to work better if I leave it on there. And it's going to take a little bit to wrap both of these down and around to the base. Not too far, but just like that maybe. It's a very simple bail. Because this is a really pretty pendant and I don't want to cover it up too much with things. There we go. Just like that. Simple and easy. So that's going to be the center of this necklace. These are going to be both of the sides. So let's get out our wire and start doing some beading. Alright. I'm going to be picking up, I think I'll do 3 just for the center part of this that this bail is going to sit on, because this is going to be large enough that these smaller beads will fit through this hole on here. So I'm going to pick up 3 of these copper lined light opaly colored beads. That's going to be my center, and I'm going to work my way up along the side, and then we'll add the pendant and work our way back the other way after we do that. So I've got my 3 here, and I'm going to start with one of these blue drooks and another copper lined bead for these 11-Os. So it goes like that. One of my purple beads, these fire polish beads, then another copper bead, the blue drook, and then I want something between this blue bead and this drop. So I'm going to pick up one of these copper lined beads and one of these purple beads. And now I put the drop on And on the other side of that drop, we'll do a purple, copper, and then we'll start in again with these drooks. So purple, copper, like so. And I'm just going to keep beading. I'm going to bead along like this and repeat this pattern until we have put on all of these diamondy drop ones for this side. Okay, and this is the part where I pick up the copper purple and then the drop. And then purple copper and these guys. There we go. I love the little metallic, like soft, subtle metallic shine that these copper lined beads add to this design. Just love that. It's not super shiny because of that like opaly glass effect. But it does give us a little bit of shine. Oh, I've got 2 of those in a row. It's because I missed putting this guy on there. There you go. This is such a calming and pleasant color of a box. It's just very peaceful, which I believe was the purpose and intention behind the theme. So, job done. Love that. That's going to hang down there in the front of the necklace on either side of the pendant. And now I'm going to work my way back, or work my way up along the back side of here. I think what I want to do on this, since there's going to be a lot of space that needs to be covered with this, is I'm going to start adding a few more 11-0s here. So I've got my 1 purple, so let's add 3 of these copper line beads in between each of these, just to extend how much is going on and how long this will be in there in the back of this necklace. This is the back half of it. So 3 of those, and this one. Like that. And it's just changing up that number there. Hey, why are you having trouble with that? One, 2, 3. I do really like this color of seed bead. It's a really pleasant color. Could separate out these seed beads before I started, but I don't feel like I really needed to in this case. And one more. I'm just going to do a real quick fit check to see how much longer I need to make this from here. Just a little bit more, I think. So why don't I add some of these 8/0 seed beads then? Let's add one of the purple ones. Go back to these 11/0s. One of these light blue ones. A few more of these 11/0s. Another purple 8/0. One, two, three. Another blue one. I mean, I could be instead using more of those droogs because there are quite a few of them in here. Actually, I think I would like to pull some more of these guys out of here. Specifically for that. Instead of using the 8/0s in that case. I am going to use the purple 8/0s though. So let's get these guys lined up on here. These sort of milky pale blue. It's like an icy blue, you know? Yeah, that's going to be a lot more cohesive to have that in there. Okay, so I believe that is going to be long enough for that side. Grab a bead stopper and leave myself a couple of inches for crimping on that end. And then measure out enough wire to string the other side. Alright, so let me get some of these 11/0s out of the way. There we go. So now I'm going to string on my pendant and work my way up this side of the necklace. There you go. And I'm going to do the exact same pattern that I did on here on this side. So it goes up both sides. The end of this wire is a little bit weird and it's not going through some of these tinier holes that easily. So all I did there was take my flush cutters and then cut the wire at a little bit of an angle. So it's going to string a little bit more easily now with some of these smaller beads. It's just a little something you can do if you are struggling to get some smaller beads on your wire. Is just cut the end of it at an angle. This is such a lovely box. I love these soft, misty colors. I mean, I love bright colors, but I love this kind of color too. I have many moods. Alright, where's the hole for this one? Okay, I can't find the hole on that one. Luckily, I've got more. I do like being able to add these seed beads to my designs. It's one of my favorite additions. Alright, where am I going? There I am. Alright, now where did I go next after I got done with that one? Okay, so this is the part where I started adding 3 of these copper ones between everything. So I think I need to take these off and go back to adding 3 of the copper lined seed beads and then continue on with my That's 4, not 3. Counting with Becky. Okay. Eventually I will get it right, I promise you. 1, 2, 3. And then the purple one. And then 1, 2, 3. And then a blue guy. I'm going to keep going until we run out of our purple ones. And then we're going to switch over in the pattern to using these little 8/0 seed beads as well. 1, 2, 3. No, not yet. No. I told you, eventually I will get it right. This is turning out to be a very unwindy from my day kind of a project, which I think is a perfect way to use this bead box. As a way to unwind, a way to just string some things along, put something pretty together. Very low stakes, but very pretty at the end of the day. Sometimes that's all you need. Alright, let me get these next few beads on here, and I think that's going to be all of them. And then double check. I'm just going to compare it with what I have on the other side to make sure that we're good. I'm going to add 3 11/0s after that one, just for completeness sake. There we go, like that. And I believe I need to add 3 on this side as well. So we'll stop them off there. Those all match. Those all match. It looks like, and I know my eagle-eyed friends they'll keep an eye out on what I've done to see if I missed anything. Sometimes all you need is a second set of eyes to point out mistakes for you. But I believe I'm where I want to be, so I'm going to put 3 on this end to make it match this end. 1, 2, 3. 3 11/0s. I notice I just said 3, not what 3 I was putting on there. Alright. It's my leftover 11/0s. I'm going to go ahead and add this chain. This is a solid soldered chain, so I'm going to take about maybe 4 inches of it. Not very much. Snip a link. And I'm going to loop the end of my wire directly onto one of these links on this end using my crimp. Well, one of the reasons I like using a magical crimper is because you don't have to use a crimp cover with it. It turns your crimp into a nice little smooth ball that looks like a little bead on your wire. And one of the reasons I like using the soft flex wire is because it has a very durable nylon coating, so I don't have to use a wire guardian with it. So I'm just going to go through the link on one of these chains, back through my crimp, and make sure that that loop is about the same size as these links. So that actually works really well. It's a good balance on there. Alright, now if you've never seen a magical crimper, let's scooch in so you can see what I'm doing. It has a little divot on here. It's just this concavity inside of there. And you don't have to use a magical crimper if you're not comfortable with it, or if it doesn't work for you. You could use the style of crimping that you are more comfortable with. This just happens to be mine. Alright, but you want to make sure your crimp gets nice and centered right there before you squeeze it. Give it a little smush, and it smushes down just the corners of your crimp. And then you turn the whole wire with the crimp about 90 degrees. So make sure it's centered again. Give it another smush. Turn it 120, 30, maybe 45 degrees. Keep going around at different angles. And it smooths out the rough edges, and it gives you a very nice, secure little ball of crimp right there on your work. Alright, let's scooch these beads down next to there. And I'm just going to go ahead and crimp my lobster clasp onto the other end here. Just going to save myself some time. I did double check my lobster clasp works before I started making this. I always check to make sure that my lobster clasps work. So I've had them not work after I had already crimped them on a few too many times. It only happened twice, but it only takes twice. Twice is one time too many. There we go. I would urge everyone to make sure that all of your crimp or your clasps work, not just lobsters. Alright, now I want to make sure that there's a little bit of space between my crimp and the bead next to it, so that I can fit my crimper around my crimp, because you want to have it be centered. I also don't want to accidentally break this seed bead when I do my clamping down. Giving it a little smush. Alright, there we go. So we have now got our closure, and I have now got my very simple and very pretty necklace. Here we go, that's my spa day necklace. Super pretty. I'm going to double check that I did do the right size on that. Perfect. I almost don't even need this extender chain, but it's nice to have so that I can adjust the length if I want it to be a little bit looser, a little bit tighter. It's going to hang out very nicely. Exactly where I want it to be. Alright, I'm going to put a link in the description to Sam's Bead Shop, where you can find information about this box. There's also a coupon code that if you want to sign up for Sam's Bead Box, which is a bead subscription that I enjoy getting, you can get $5 off your first month subscription using that coupon. And check it out with the seed beads. I really love adding them to what I use in my design process. It really adds a lot as part of that design element. But there we go. Until next time, my friends, happy beading.